Haidong! In this video, we're going to talk about the crosscut block. As a disclaimer, so for this block and the block for the uppercut, at least as seen in the defense focus, I have a very specific opinion about it. So just so you know, these two videos are going to be more augmented to kind of fix things I've seen going awry with them. So just keep that in mind. So again, if you're expecting me to be the champion of the defense focus, these two blocks, they're going to be a little bit harder to swallow. So just keep that in mind, but let's take a look. As seen in the defense focus, so we're going to block a crosscut to our rib. So this makes a certain sense, right? So we did an X block. In theory, I could block a dive cut this way, and what they want you to do is block a crosscut this way. So again, from the side, blocking this way, right? Or this way. Again, from the side, walking this way. Now, the main thing, again, the main assumption that we've made is that these blocks are intended to stop the most powerful, right? So this is like worst case scenario. I see any old crosscut coming towards me. I want to do this block. Maybe just like how he said, oh, there's a crosscut to my neck. I want to do this block. There's a dive cut coming towards my neck. I want to do this block. There is a center cut coming towards my face, 11 block, right? So in theory, that's what should be happening here, but it isn't, right? So what I'd recommend is try this with a willing partner, right? So obviously consent is always important. Make sure they're not trying to actually murder you to death, but give that block, receive that cut, and realize how little you can do. Now, in a sense, it will stop the cut initially, but it might collapse your guard. So it won't cut into you so much, but there is even less you can do from this position, right? So again, crosscuts coming in theory I want to block this way. Now if we do that, again, if a lot of pressure is applied, it's gonna collapse. It doesn't even need to collapse fully, right? You can see that probably better this way. If it collapses a little bit, right, my rib is exposed. That's what they're aiming for. They're here and they can just blow through. Just blow through this way, and there's not much I can do, right? Now I can try to get even lower with it, which is what we're going to do for our uppercuts, right? And use the strong of the sword to go against the potentially the weak of theirs. You can really push your strong into their weak, but then you kind of run the risk of losing your wrists, right? So for example, if I was being that guy and trying to, bifurcate you this way, if I get stopped here and you've stopped me with, again, this really deep block, all you do is just either grab their wrist, face, right? Or just go around the head, right? So it's very, very easy to get around this block. For that reason, this kind of breaks the rule. Actually, it kind of keeps going with the rule. But this particular block, do it for the Federation, right? So make them proud. But also keep in mind, if you see a crosscut coming your way, you could absolutely do this, but it's going to be very, very weak. That said, let's make it work. So the interesting thing is, usually the block that's presented is usually the passive block. Right? Now this is presented as a passive block, don't get me wrong, it is intended to be out there and receive block. But as is, it's actually going to be a very good active block. If a crosscut is coming towards my lonesome rib, I can catch it and flip. Right? Crosscut coming this way, catch it, flip. So this can actually use the momentum of their sword to deflect, and I can try to counter, again, with a neck strike or anything that I really want to do against that. So that is obviously one way we can actually use this block effectively, right? So again, this is not going to be one of those that you want to do power versus power, because you will lose, you will collapse, and you'll be very sad for the brief time that you're alive, right? Versus, oh, crosscut, flip, and then probably do a nice counter, right? Same on the other side. Crosscut, flip, counter, right? So those are two ways, well, that's one way on both sides. They can actually apply this block in a way that actually makes some pretty good sense. Now, time for two weird things, right? So the first thing is, okay, if someone's giving me a crosscut, what should I do, right? So you like to destroy things, Mr. Ezawa, but do you actually put things in their place? I try to. So instead of this, what else can you do? Okay, someone's trying to give me a crosscut. What does that mean? So this is the other thing I was going to come back to. Don't be this guy. Don't be the guy to go for a crosscut, because you will have a really short sword career. Right? Because if I'm here, I'm trying to hit you with a crosscut, right? I'm really open, right? So you can go for my head, you can go for my shoulder. The moment, again, if I'm fighting you, dear listener, and I see you tuck back, I am going for your face, right? Just boo, right? So either stab, cut, maybe do a nice weird bicorno or something like that, just because why not? The moment I see you drop the tip behind you, I'm going for you, right? So don't be that guy. Don't be the guy being like, haha, I'm going to go for your knee, or I'm going to go for your hip, because you'll get hit very, very quickly if the person knows how to deal with you. That said, let's say you're fighting this person, right? This person has decided, and maybe they caught you off guard, so now you see this crosscut coming towards probably your hip, right? Because that is the hardest place to hit, or hardest place to block, which is why we aim there. What can you do? So, as I kind of mentioned in my side rant, if you see someone go for a crosscut, stab them in the face. Right? See someone going for a crosscut, hit them in the face. See someone going for a crosscut, hit them in the arm. You can hit them pretty much anywhere. That said, if you're sparring someone and they might, and obviously you don't actually, cease their consciousness, because illegal, don't do it, bad. If you're sparring someone and you hit them in the face as they're preparing for the crosscut, they'll probably still throw that crosscut, right? So let's learn how to deal with the incoming crosscut. It's going to be a little bit lackluster, just because it's actually very easy to stop a crosscut. You see that crosscut coming towards your rib, strike it, headshot. That's it. Another crosscut, strike, hit, right? Just strike the sword, kill their momentum. They might still hit you really weakly, but all of the momentum spent, they're open. You can pretty much just have your way, right? So this way, struck, you can go for my wrist, you can go for my head, you can go for anywhere. So keep that in mind, right? So if you're that guy and you like to go crosscuts, once people realize they can just hit you, you'll probably want to change your game, right? And likewise, if you see someone doing a crosscut, if they're smart, they're doing the combination. Maybe they're like, oh no, I missed, let me do this crosscut against you. If you see that crosscut coming against you, you can again use the defense-focused block to parry the sword out of the way, right? You can also use the defense-focused block to block. This is actually a new way we can do it. We can block and grind in, so I can just grab your wrist and then meow, face. So there's another way you can do it. But ultimately, if you see that crosscut coming, you can hit him in the face, you can strike, coming cross, you can actually just pretty much do whatever you want once you get that sword out of the way. So, all sorts of good things for you to think about. And with that, right, so we talked about, again, the defense-focused block, how to use it, how to change it to make it a little bit better. Obviously, I'd also like to hear, if you have a different opinion, right? So I have a very strong opinion from these, just because, again, I've used them, try to make them work. These are ways I've found that make it work a better way, but maybe you have a completely different opinion, and I'd like to know, right? Because I like to also educate myself, right? So with that, right, so make sure you keep safe, right? So especially with these, right, so make sure they're not going to be blown out. So practice safely with partners, so be safe, stay humble, and keep training. Haidong!